That afternoon, you sit alone in a room that should have felt familiar. Yet somehow, something moves quietly inside your chest, a soft pressure that feels like a whisper. Something is wrong. You've been living life the wrong way for a long time. You try to ignore it, turn on your phone, open your notifications, but the emptiness stays. The job that once felt important now looks like a routine task without a soul. Relationships you've built for years feel like repeated conversations with no direction. The goals you once chased with passion suddenly lose their color. And in the middle of all of that, you ask yourself, with a voice more honest than usual, what's the point of all this? You realize this isn't just sadness or exhaustion. It's a moment when your old reality begins to crack, revealing something you've never seen before. Usually, when a feeling like this appears, there are two common reactions. The first is panic. You try to run as fast as you can from the silence inside you. You add more tasks, look for new hobbies, force yourself to feel productive, watch anything that can distract you, even create bigger life plans just to silence the emptiness in your head. But the more you try to run, the louder the question becomes. Why am I doing all this? The second reaction is giving up. You let yourself sink into cynicism, convincing yourself that life is absurd, that nothing truly means anything, and if nothing matters, why bother? You become like someone who turns off the lights because they can't stand seeing the mess inside the room. These two reactions are human, but both are problematic. One keeps you running without ever arriving. The other stops you before you ever truly live. And when you hear them, you might think, yeah, that's totally me. And truly, many of us have been stuck between those two extremes. But there is a third path. Something rarely spoken about, a path that doesn't ask you to run or give up, but to be still and look. That emptiness isn't an enemy you need to defeat. It is a door, a subtle gate toward a completely new way of seeing life. The sense of meaninglessness isn't there because your life failed, but because the meanings you used to wear no longer fit you. Like old clothes that once felt perfect, but now feel restrictive. The emptiness isn't a lack, it is space. Space for something more honest to grow from within you. And for the first time, you don't have to force any answers throughout your life. You've been using borrowed meanings. You grew up with collective stories about how life should be lived. From family, you learned that success is a checklist. From society, you were told that your worth is measured by achievements and other people's opinions. From culture and media, you were shown images of happiness. Big houses, perfect bodies, shiny careers, flawless relationships captured in photos. You inherited stories agreed upon by many, then treated them as if they were cosmic laws. But they were only stories. Stories that may be useful, perhaps, but still stories. Meaning isn't something you find out there, like a hidden gemstone. Meaning is something you create through experience, understanding, and the courage to live as yourself. You are like an actor who takes his role too seriously, forgetting he is acting, forgetting that he is free to leave the stage and choose another role anytime he wishes. When you realize this, it's natural that you feel empty for a moment. Because for the first time, you are no longer using someone else's script, that emptiness is not an ending, but a beginning. Because only when your hands are empty can you hold something new. Now you are no longer tied to anyone's definition of a good life. Now you don't have to fit into any box, follow any path made by others. You are free to redesign your own game. You can change your goals, change your lifestyle, change your roles, even rewrite your story from the ground up. But be careful. There's a subtle trap here, the urge to quickly create a new, grand mission just to cover up the emptiness. You might feel tempted to label your life again just so it feels important, but that's only swapping one game for another. Life doesn't need to be built like a giant project. Let it breathe. And here lies a simple but striking truth. Life doesn't need a big point to be valid. Life is not a race that demands you reach a finish line. Life is more like music. You don't listen to music just to get to the final note. You enjoy it because each note has its own beauty. Life is also like a dance. The purpose of dancing isn't to reach a certain spot on the floor, but the movement, the rhythm, and your presence in each step. And so is life. And so is your feeling that you've been doing life wrong. That too is part of the music. That too is part of the dance. When you start seeing life this way, something inside you becomes lighter. You no longer carry the burden of being someone admirable. You begin to work more honestly, without the pressure of creating something deeply meaningful. You begin to love more sincerely, without the demand that your love appear perfect. You begin to chase dreams without the fear of failure. You can move without needing recognition. You can try without needing to be good immediately. You can live without needing to win at living. Life becomes softer, more fluid, more playful. Not because you don't care, but because you stop fighting yourself. Then what about failure? What about death? What if you are forgotten? Those questions naturally arise when you try to understand life's meaning, but the answers may not need to be as complicated as you imagine. Isn't a beautiful sunset still precious, even though it only lasts a few minutes? Isn't a flower worthy of admiration, even if it blooms for just a day? Aren't the waves calming, even though they rise and fall back into the sea? Impermanence is what makes things meaningful. Life becomes precious not because it stays forever, but because it doesn't. Every moment, every laugh, every tear, every step matters precisely because they fade. Even the feeling that you once lived life the wrong way. That too will pass, change shape, and become a soft lesson you can only understand by living through it. There is a simple story. A student approaches an old master sweeping the yard. With a confused voice, the student asks, "Master, what is the meaning of life? What is the purpose of all this?" The old master pauses, looks at the fallen leaves at his feet and says, "I don't know the purpose of your life, but I know what I must do right now." He moves his broom, brushing a leaf from one point to another. "When I'm hungry, I eat. When I'm tired, I sleep. When leaves fall, I sweep." The student waits for further explanation, but the master simply continues sweeping as if the answer was complete. And truly, it was. The meaning of life lies in what you do now, wholeheartedly, without forcing it to be grand. And now you're back to the question from the beginning. What's the point of all this? But this time, you no longer ask with anxiety. You no longer demand a grand answer. You simply take a deep breath, feel your body, feel your presence, and realize that perhaps life doesn't need a point first to be beautiful. You don't need to force life to feel important before living it. You just need to be here, fully, completely, and allow meaning to grow like wildflowers. Slow, honest, and effortless. And if there's one sentence you can take home from this journey, let it be this. Life becomes meaningful the moment you stop forcing it to be.